Welcome to the 5-part Joy series. This is part number 3. You are here to seek joy, to experience that day-to-day harmony with who you really are and ultimately why we were put on this earth. Now, in part number 1, I gave you the permission to grant yourself the permission to feel good right now, no matter your circumstances. Because too often we deny ourselves permission to feel good all because we don't have the things we desire yet. In part number 2, you began the process of letting go, discarding everything you are not, everything that feels bad or heavy. And I mean that mentally, emotionally, and even your physical surroundings. Because it is critical, you guys, that you remove all the crap that's not serving you and that doesn't feel good so that you can make room for what does feel good. So if you missed either one of those videos, you will want to stop this video and watch those first. Okay, one of the most important concepts to understand when it comes to creating more joy in your life is responsibility. Each and every one of us are responsible for the thoughts we think on a daily basis and the outcomes or the results we choose based on those thoughts. In other words, you are the author, the creator, the director of your own experience and your own story here on earth. Your thoughts and feelings determine your reality. So if you aren't experiencing joy in real time, what that means is that you aren't carefully choosing your thoughts. It's really as simple as that, you guys. So you must be willing to stop pushing the responsibility away from you and instead take control. Because each time you have a better feeling thought, you connect to your inner being, that natural state of joy. But in order to get good at this practice, you must first understand conceptually that you are in control and responsible for your brain and what goes on inside of there. I am the author of my own story here. I get to decide with my own brain what my future will look like. What I choose to think becomes my reality. The better my story gets, the better my life gets. For some of you watching, you don't yet believe that. For some of you, you believe that your life is like just one big movie and you're kind of sitting back and, in the theater eating popcorn, just waiting and watching to see what happens next. But that mentality and that way of being is the opposite of deliberate creation and connecting to source energy, peace, joy, freedom, abundance. Being a deliberate creator means writing the script as you choose and then experiencing that in real life. So we all have the option all of the time to A, sit in the audience waiting and watching to see what external events transpire and then react to them, or B, to be in the writing room and on set creating and producing the results that we want. When we choose to sit in the audience, we think that life is just happening to us and we're just reacting, when in fact it appears that way because that's the role we've chosen. So the problem is not that we don't have control. The problem lies when we aren't choosing to take control. And the reason that I preface with all of this is so that you can successfully form an awareness about which role you've chosen in the past, which role you're choosing today, and which role you choose moving forward. The story you tell moving forward will be the basis of your life. And that's really great news because you get to tell whatever the F story that you want to tell. There's no right or wrong way to tell it. The only criteria here is that it's an uplifting, good feeling one. Because if you choose to tell a story of shortage and hardship, that is the movie that will play out over and over again. Thinking that's just the hand you've been dealt, when in reality, you're the one creating it from the story you have going on in your brain. Alternatively, each time you tell an uplifting story, you feel better. As you think thoughts that feel good, you will be in harmony with who you really are. And that's where you find joy. I have a client right now who, when she first came to me, she came on the call with some very heavy energy and a lot of baggage. She had been telling herself the same painful story for years and years. She was reenacting an old unhealthy relationship, and she had painted her ex as this big bad wolf, and she was this helpless victim, and she just couldn't escape him no matter what. Well, I let her tell the story one time and that's it. And then I had her commit to never telling that story ever again, to herself or to anybody else. And then we did a deep dive into her brain and we removed all the crap weighing her down, stuff I talked about in part 1. And we rewrote a new narrative, AKA we rewired her brain. And within just a few weeks, it was like I was getting on the phone with a completely different person. In fact, her transformation was so incredible that she signed with me for this entire year. She was like, wait a second, I spent years and money in therapy when coaching literally helped me within weeks. And she was so taken aback by this newfound sense of joy and who she had become that she was like, okay, if I could create these results in just a few weeks, what can I do in a year? And I was like, yup, that's what happens when you drink the coaching Kool-Aid. Everyone has the same reaction. They're like, why didn't I do this sooner? So with that being said, if you haven't been successful in your quest for joy, you must look at the stories you're telling yourself. You must take a look at the thoughts in your mind. We talked about this in part 2, identifying the mental chatter that feels bad and is taking you further from joy. Once you're successfully identifying the unpleasant stories that are like movies on repeat and letting them go, this is the phase where you're rewriting the script. You're coming up with new and improved beliefs that feel good and true in your body. For example, an example of a not so great story that's attached to your ego mind may sound like this. I can never get ahead in life. I take 1 step forward and 3 steps back always. My money issues follow me everywhere I go. It's hopeless. I was dealt a bad hand in life. What can I do? Not much, I guess. I'm just the type of person who clocks in, clocks out, and just tries to make it through the day. Guys, you cannot tell stories of shortage and lack and experience abundance and joy. It's impossible. An example of a better feeling story may sound something like, there is nothing that I cannot be or have. I am 100% worthy and deserving of all my desires. The better my thoughts, the better I feel, the better it gets. This is my time. This is when my entire life begins to change. I am becoming the person who's overcome all the odds. I am the success story. Okay, that's just an example that came to me in the moment, but you want to play around with new and improved thoughts that feel good and true to you. Choose short, uplifting stories throughout your day. Present circumstances that in the past you may have deemed a problem in a new way, one that showcases you as a hero, not a victim. You want to do this with all areas of your life: money, career, relationships, anything you desire. Create new stories in your mind. This is how you create new neural pathways in your brain, literally. And when you're deliberately choosing a new way of thinking, notice how you feel. You will experience that sense of joy that you've been seeking. And that feeling state is what will create those external results that you desire. It is awesome, you guys, and it is magical. But more than anything else, just notice how powerful you are when you take responsibility for your thoughts and when you choose them purposefully and carefully. Nothing outside of you needs to change. It will change by making this a practice, but at that point, it's like the cherry on top because you're already in a state of bliss. And that's what we're going to talk more about next week. Thank you so much for watching. If you are loving this series and really my channel in general, and you want to take things to that next level, you're like, okay, Shayna, I get it. I'm piecing it together. I'm experiencing some shifts here, but I really want your help to fast track my results and hold my hand through the entire process. You can apply for my one-on-one coaching program. The application is underneath this video. You will be my next client saying, holy crap, why didn't I do this sooner? I'll see you next week. Bye.